Welcome to Soul Purpose Network. We got our great podcast, and we have our great guest today, Miss IRA REVEL.
That's correct.
All right. And I am going to be your host for today, Timothy Fraylon the first. So let's get right into it. So, you have an app. Tell us all about it.
So, my grant Copilot is a hybrid SaaS, software as a service, plus human platform that is designed to help small businesses, founders of startups, as well as nonprofit leaders, not only discover grants, but also write with humans or co-write with AI. There's a number of features, I'll get a bit into that later, but it's really designed to help particularly under-resourced communities access grants.
Awesome. Yeah. So what gave you the idea to create this grant?
To create my grant Copilot? Well,
yes.
Ultimately, I am a founder of a small business, right? Mm-hmm. Not only that, I've been writing grants for nearly 25 years. And I worked at Cornell for about a decade. Mm-hmm. And what hit me most was the fact that people who are doing incredibly impactful work often find it difficult to not only find a grant writer, but also find it difficult once they've found a grant writer to afford grant writing services. Can be very pricey, right? Not only that, there were a number of other issues, like people who are looking for grants figure out, how do I even start? Where do I even go to start looking, right? So AI now makes it easier to do that, but I noticed even with AI that there was a lack of focus, and oftentimes there's just a broad search for funding opportunities or topics that relate to your funding idea or need. And I just felt like, you know what, I need a platform that's actually going to help me write grants better, but also find grants for my business and some of my businesses and some of my other ideas, but also help the numerous people who I've come across who have super impactful ideas helping children, for farms, for various social justice issues. But again, I just needed a product that, I just wanted to build a product that would have been helpful to me had I been in in that search a long time ago. So I needed something like that.
Love it. So in your experience with grant writing, what have you been some of the challenges for nonprofits when it comes to them applying for grants and winning the grant more so?
Just regarding applying for grants, a lot of organizations find it challenging because they don't either have money or time, right? So they may have great ideas, they may want to do amazing things for youth, STEM programs, youth recreational programs, but unfortunately, a lot of, especially if you're less than 3 years old as a nonprofit, it's just really, really tough to get funding. It's really tough to figure out, okay, I'm gonna apply for this Walmart grant or this Aldi's grant or something, but it's only maybe $250, maybe it's $2,000. But if you really want to get into the bigger grants, the 5- and 6-figure grants, you really need someone who has expertise, right? And the tough part there is most people can't afford it, right? And then let's not even start talking about people who are running businesses or as small business, or if you're a nonprofit, having the time, because you're wearing all the hats, right?
Can I ask you a question about your app? I thought it was interesting you used the term Copilot. Kind of explain a little bit of how the Copilot plays into assisting, helping out in the process, because I know the process is very tedious, it's technical, there's a huge learning curve. So if you haven't done it for years, you're probably not going to get it right the first time. So the benefit of having, a co-pilot in the grant process.
So, what's interesting about that is my thought process was, okay, I have people, because they know that I do this, they often ask for free grant writing support, right? And, or they ask, how do you do a certain thing? And so for me, I said, okay, I need to be able to take my 25 plus years in grant writing, and I need to put it in one place so that people get the tutorials, they get the actual access to discovery grants, but they also get opportunity to potentially even co-write grants with AI. And then of course in 2023, OpenAI came out with ChatGPT. And so for me, I wanted to simply be able to put all of my years of experience. I've been on every side of grants, from research to writing to awards management, grant awards management as a project manager. I've been a reviewer for federal and corporate grants. And, at the end of the day, how could I take all of that experience and put it into an app and make that accessible to everybody, right? So that was my thought process. I am literally, the Copilot that you're working with when you're using My Grant Copilot. And it's almost like having me in your back pocket or sitting right next to you as you're going through the process, because the platform is conversational. Okay? So the idea is that it's asking you questions and helping guide you through the process of discovery or of writing, and various other features that I have embedded into it.
So just one example, right? You can give us an example. Things that people are going to run into in the process of trying to get a grant, process, that you would ask them, because, you've been there many times. So like, what's an example of something that, first time off the porch, I'm trying to do a grant, I'm thinking it's going to be ABC. Come along and say, hey,
right,
you got to be prepared with this information.
The biggest challenge that I've found with prospects and clients is having their paperwork in order, right? So the need is to have your documentation about whether you're a small business or you're a nonprofit, and have that documentation already organized and ready to go. Because when you're looking at a request for proposal, or RFP, which is the funder's call for response when you're looking for a grant and applying for a grant, they're going to ask in their guidelines for a list of things, right? And so what I did is actually, and this is freely available right now on the website, but what I did is I actually created a supporting documents checklist. So there's like a number of things, like your IRS letter of determination if you're a nonprofit. They may even ask for your operating budget, They may want to know what your tax documents look like, right? Simply because they want to know how much money have you been awarded and handled and reported, right, in taxes. But then they also want to know, with your operating budget, what does that look like perhaps for the next 3 years? Have you been able to write that up and think about that?
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Great stuff. How do you feel that technology changes the way that organizations approach grant opportunities?
That's a great question, right? I would say that, like any organization, it doesn't matter if you're a small business or a nonprofit or a solopreneur. Technology creates an opportunity to more quickly and efficiently get the work done, especially when you're talking about productivity that involves lots of checks, dotting I's and crossing T's. And, at least for me, it's actually sped up my productivity. But I realize too, like anyone should also consider, it makes mistakes.
Yes.
And ultimately, I decided to go the route of a hybrid business model, human plus AI, because AI is still not there yet, right? It's still not capable of being autonomous. There are a number of environmental issues around AI.
Yes.
There are a number of legal in terms of its, policies around the government, but also there are issues around actually, a lot of people asking questions. Well, should we do this? Should we not do this? How do we do this in a way that takes into consideration that there are multiple factors involved and types of people and underrepresented people, black, brown, Latino, any, name a culture that isn't in, the particular predominant culture. And what you notice, of course, is AI has been largely, and I'm not going to say completely, because it was a black man who created the actual chip that I would say NVIDIA has currently named. And I feel really bad. We'll have to look it up since we have our phones. But there was a black man who actually created the most powerful chip that's actually used in all NVIDIA AI systems.
That's dope. Fresh out of Black History Month, y'all.
That's right. So, and not only in NVIDIA, but also all systems, because he was very prolific in that way. But I'm just saying that it's really important that we consider all of the factors. And the first question that I ask is, who's not in the room? So if you're building an AI platform, who is not in the room? Whose voices are not at the table, right? Because if you do that, then you begin to really think about the fact that, we need people who actually have technical skills that don't always look like one type of person, male, female. Just making sure that we're as equal as possible when we're considering the vast number and types of folks who are going to be accessing these systems. So yeah, that's really important to me, especially right now. Yeah.
Love it. So do you find that it's easy for someone who's, let's say, someone is not tech savvy? Is your website easy for them to navigate through?
Yeah, the platform is super easy designed. Before I even created the actual Migrant Copilot platform, I created a chat feature that would basically allow anybody with at least a 7th grade reading level to actually ask questions or prompt and get responses, right? And I did that because I want people, no matter what level they're at, to be able to access, especially underserved people, underrepresented, under-resourced people, to access grants. Like that to me is, man, it's so important because, again, this podcast is super important to you, right? As a small business, I'm sure you're looking for funding, right? And so would you like to have a place where you could go and say, you know what, I don't need a grant writer to search and for a grant or discover funding opportunities. I can find an opportunity and maybe I just want to do an event and do a corporate sponsorship, and now I can just click these buttons, find the opportunity, and also, apply for it. Like that's dope. Closer to the money,
Closer to the money. So when it comes to the grants, so did you have to seek out partnerships in order to get some things going for it? And if you did, what did those look like?
For building the platform?
Correct.
So my biggest need, so keep in mind that I've built the platform myself. I'm the lead developer of Migrant Copilot, and because we now have the capability of vibe coding. I don't know if you ever heard of vibe coding.
No, tell us what that is.
I'm likely not going to completely do it justice, but the idea behind vibe coding is simply that you can actually use a series of prompts to develop your platforms, your apps, right? And there are a number of platforms, like Lovable is a great example, Base 44. There's a number of platforms, Replit, Emergent, that allow people to simply prompt the platform and actually build an app. There are a number of things that you have to be aware of, when you're using those platforms, but it's fairly, if you do have some coding background, it's fairly simple. Okay. It's almost crazy. It's very simple. It's simple, but there are a number of things that you need to know. There are a number of nuances that you have to consider.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. Well,
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
You know, the Bible say money solves all things. A lot of problems in the inner city, a lot of problems in the black community in particular. But there's a lot of problems throughout the country, you know, where we need to inject money. Can you speak to some of the things that you feel that grant money can maybe solve some problems here, solve some problems there,
Yeah.
whether it's daycare, early childhood education, gang violence, and all those types of things?
Not to be controversial, but I personally don't believe that money solves all problems. I certainly believe that when you don't have money or you're low on cash, money solves a lot of particularly immediate problems. But, as I've found specifically with prospects and clients, you may have a great idea, but you have to be able to execute that. Right?
yes.
There are a number of people, as we see,
Get it out. Don't worry about it.
as we,
Never mind. I was trying to throw you an alley-oop.
I know, right?
So maybe we can point out the fact where money doesn't solve anything, but can you talk about how the grants, getting the money, will help people in the community?
And I figured that's where you. But I
That's
gotta
where I'm trying to go.
answer.
Yeah,
But
don't worry.
I was gonna answer.
As you was getting there,
I was getting there.
There's a build up.
It's a build up. And I think that's what we can say. Money doesn't solve all problems, but grant opportunities create a way for people to just execute amazing and impactful projects, right? But the biggest issue, though, that I found is you can have all the money, but not be able to execute, right? You can check all the boxes and not be able to implement your idea, right? You're only as good as your team.
Yes.
And a lot of times funders need to see that you have, especially once you start getting into the high five, and six-figure grants, even the mid, like 25,000 and up, funders definitely need to see that you can manage the money, that you can actually implement your ideas, and that you can have great results. And so, or be able to actually do what you said you're going to do in the proposal. And so that's really what I've found. You're only as good as your ability to execute.
Okay. Definitely. As you mentioned earlier about AI, some of the concerns. Some people worry that AI might make grant writing feel less personal. How do you balance automation with storytelling?
That's a great question. Yeah. Listen, there are a lot of funders who basically refuse to accept proposals that have been written with the assistance of AI.
Oh, wow. How are they able to, just real quick, how are they able to know?
To detect that?
Yeah.
Sometimes there are software that people can, that funders can use to determine. Sometimes, however, the software isn't even completely accurate, right? Keep in mind that there are students in universities who are writing using AI, and there are those who don't write using AI who are great writers. And so the challenge is, when you get these false positives from, your professor who says, no, this was written by AI, and you're like, no, actually it came from my brain. I know how to write, right?
Yeah.
I actually, I have a lifetime awards for clients and for my own projects of $11 million since 2001. And this was before, at least 10 million was before AI was even in the game at all. So ultimately, people need to learn how to write. I mean, that's real. And even if you use AI to become a better writer, that I think is also very important. But funders know, there are ways in which to program your AI or customize your AI such that you're able to make it sound more human and more like you. A lot of the large language models are able to do that, right? They're able to say, okay, put all this data in, and now we'll create something that is customized so that it fits whether it's grant writing or media production or your voice and tone and style, right?
Yeah.
But the challenge that we're faced with right now is a lot of children are being taught with computers. And mind you, I'm a fan of computers, but I'm also a humanist. I'm kind of riding that fine line of being, really heavy into technology, but I also am a humanist. And so the thing that I think is important is that children learn critical thinking skills.
Yes.
That's critical, right? But also media literacy, right? Because now you begin to comprehend how to use and how to think about these systems, right? That's just my opinion.
Think for you, right?
And that's the challenge. That's the problem, in my opinion, of where we're moving towards. Relying so heavily on automation that we anthropomorphize or we make human the AI such that it thinks for us, it does all these other things for us. When are we going to do things for ourselves, bro?
Yeah, I have friends that might even use it for conversation, be like, well, how do I respond to X, Y, and Z? And be like, you got to use the brain to sort of, so they kind of, you're right on that. They'll use AI to respond to conversations or things like that, as opposed to just thinking about how they should respond, how they feel.
Right.
Because that's the genuine response to something. AI can't tell you how to feel about something.
Right. And I think, for those who are shy or have, social anxiety, that type of thing, I don't see a problem with, because a lot of people use AI for mental health support.
Yes.
Right? People use pets for mental health support. All right. But I think that there's a place where the over-reliance on anything, right, to the extreme creates the problems, right? It doesn't matter what it is, right, that you're over-relying on or going to extreme things on. And I'll make a silly example. Extreme love creates fatal attractions. Right? Come on.
Extreme love.
Extreme hate creates war.
Yes.
And all the negative things that we don't want in life. And so that's my point. It's like being able to balance the use of platforms like my grant Copilot with the conversations, because right now funding is extremely relational. And what that means is you have to build relationships with funders. You have to build, funders have to build relationships with organizations that they want to fund. And that means you talk to people.
Personal skills, interpersonal skills.
Yes. Interpersonal skills. Definitely, we need more. We need people with more of those types of things.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So, what would you find, like let's say, like the top 3 to 5 categories for grants that seekers go to your platform for?
Yeah. People are seeking grants related to agriculture. So whether you're a farmer or you are in the food supply chain and you're, providing retail, or you're looking for market access in any way. People who are youth development workers or have nonprofits that focus on youth or children, they're looking for educational grants to support programs primarily. If you are in the science, technology, engineering, and math, or arts and math, STEM or STEAM, you're looking for grants that will enable you to support programs or provide stipends for youth to participate in those types of things. I would say another really big one is wellness. Health and wellness, yes. Health and healthcare are huge right now, particularly because there's a strong focus on integrating AI into healthcare. But also wellness is important because there are a number of people now, particularly small businesses or solopreneurs, who are focused on healing, right? Healing arts, nutrition.
Yes.
All of those sorts of things. And so I would say those are probably the top 3, but also in addition to building my grant Copilot, I'm also an artist. And so arts and culture is a huge area that people are looking for funding, particularly musicians, right? And there are a number of grants for that. And a lot of times, founders of small businesses or founders of, businesses as well as small business owners don't know that they can apply for grants. Right. They think it's just for nonprofits. But over 1.5 million small businesses and nonprofits, there's a lot of opportunity for these organizations to actually access, and individuals to access the funds. And just knowing that you can, right? You can use a platform like mine, or mine specifically, to locate, discover funding opportunities you may have never even known existed.
Love it, love it, love it. Have you had anyone win grants so far utilizing your platform?
Yeah, so the current platform that I've released to the public, it is in beta, and what people can do is discover grants for free. Just send me a text message or an email, or comment on one of my Facebook posts. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn as well, My Grant Copilot. And last year in 2025, my clients, I was using a lot of the features of the platform before having completed the build. But as I mentioned, I have chat.mygrantcopilot.com. And so that's a chatbot that I actually built. It's currently in a marketplace right now. And that platform allowed me to help my clients win over I think at the time it was $350,000.
Wow.
So last year, $350,000. But I think we submitted over, I want to say, up to 3 million going into this year, but up to 3 million in applications. Again, it's a competitive landscape, but definitely using the platform, people have won money.
Nice, nice, nice. So let's segue back to agriculture that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So you got something going on right here. Can you want to talk about the flyer you got? Yes,
I would love to talk about this flyer. And so this flyer is for Hartford Plates. This is really special to me because one of my grant clients last year, Jocelyn Serta, is the owner of Mercado Popular.
Ooh.
And it is located in Parkville market area. Real Artways is in the area as well, and in Hartford. And she started by doing community sustainable agriculture, CSAs, where she was working with farmers to actually get the public access to nutrition-dense food.
Wow.
Directly farm-raised food, right? And so her idea, she's from Hartford, and her idea was simply, I want to get people access to food. And so the beautiful thing about this as a client, she said, and this reads, this is a story of a Hartford native who dreams of making farm-fresh food accessible to her community. She builds a hub for equitable food access.
Wow.
And so this is a person who grew up in Hartford who said, and she told me this last year, she said, I've always wanted to open a food market or a food hub in Hartford. And I'm like, that is amazing. And to actually now be able to walk into Mercado and see the food, see her actually working with volunteers, Mutual Aid Hartford, to get food boxes prepared for families.
Wow.
The grant that I wrote it was a Connecticut State Department of Agriculture grant, and it enabled her to get the large commercial refrigerators for the space, to merchandise her refrigerators as well. And so just to see it, for me, the story was so important that this will be my second executive produced film.
Nice.
And this is a short form documentary. The first was Bless the Land, about a farm that was in my family for 153 years.
Wow.
Yeah. It's now Relax Farms. It's a business. And so this second short form documentary is called Hartford Plates. And the idea is that we'll be meeting up on Tuesday, March 10th at the Hartford Public Library, Center for Contemporary Culture. It's first floor, just walk straight to the back. And you'll be able to participate in discussions around, not only viewing the trailer of the documentary, but discussions around equitable food access. And in particular, the food crisis that occurred in October with EBT, right? And basically, the idea is Jocelyn and my other client, Terrain Jameson of Build a Better You, which is located in the north end of Hartford, they were able to connect and do a very special project that I said, please, you guys have to do this together. So they're actually going to be talking about that project and that experience as a solution to some of the food challenges and food access and what we sometimes call food apartheid issues in capital cities like Hartford.
Yes.
But ultimately, Hartford Plates is a documentary that we're still in production and we're still fundraising to complete. And we want to tell the story about